So, this is our stealth shelter. Using these palm fronds, I've built a little booth around it. A little shelter, just needs more branches. And yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I'm here in my beautiful little booth, making a snackwich or a Jaffle iron sandwich. In my last video, I talked about the stealthy nature of Jesus. We don't see Jesus around today, but all of that is going to change. Prophecy tells us how we're going to get the four horsemen of the apocalypse. We're going to get false religion, or the man of sin, war, famine, pestilence. Then we're going to get the great tribulation or persecution of the saints. And after the saints have been persecuted for years or a fair time, we're going to get the heavenly signs. We're going to see Jesus return with the clouds of heaven. That means with the heavenly hosts. There's going to be a shout of a trumpet. The dead are going to be raised, and the living are going to be raptured from earth into the air to meet him. It's not going to be at all hidden. It's going to be an absolutely non-stealthy event. And then we're going to have the wedding supper of the Lamb in heaven. And then all the plagues, the 7 trumpet and 7 vial plagues will be poured out on the earth. And finally, the saints and Jesus will stand on the Mount of Olives. And he will begin his very obvious and non-stealthy rule from Jerusalem. The whole world will be shattered. There will be no buildings left. People will dwell in booths like this. This is my beautiful palm stealth shelter. So here is where Christ breaks stealth and comes to live with man. And it starts small from the Middle East, Jerusalem, and spreads to the whole earth. The kingdom of God for a millennium grows and fills the earth. In prophecy, it's the picture of the stone that comes and smashes the image of pagan or Gentile rule. And then that stone that smashes that image in Daniel spreads to fill the whole earth. So Christ's going to rule on earth till all nations are subdued and under his rule. At the end of the millennium, Earth is going to be cauterized with fire. Every physical human being and physical object is going to be turned to spiritual. Mankind is going to be offered the chance to accept or reject the Lord. And then, as I say, the earth is finally cauterized with fire. Satan, who's been in jail for 1,000 years, is going to be thrown into the lake of fire. And then when the earth is cauterized with fire, the Father is going to come, and heaven is going to come to earth, and God is going to rule and God is going to be with man, with Jesus on the earth. And that is when we will finally see the Father, and the whole world will be now spirit beings. There will be nothing physical, except the physical earth will still remain, but cauterized with fire. So that is the story as I believe it. Well, let's see how our snack witch is doing. Could still do with a little bit more. So God has been very stealthy, and well, certainly God the Father has been invisible forever from human eyes, but Christ has appeared in the Old Testament a few times. The Garden of Eden, to Moses, to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the prophets, etc. And then Christ is going to be obvious on earth, ruling from earth. The saints are going to be his kings and priests, spreading his ambassadors, spreading his kingdom rule throughout the earth. So at the millennium, everyone's going to have had a chance to accept or reject him. Earth will be cauterized with fire, and then the Father and New Jerusalem will descend down to earth. And that is the true bride. When New Jerusalem comes down to earth. And that is when there is no more stealth. So God, who's been fairly scarce and hard to be seen with mankind, will be visible and obvious to everyone. Well, looking good. So these Jaffle sandwiches are pretty delicious. Could put almost anything between bread and I'll love it. Just listen to the bird life. That is pretty delicious. I had some stew. and some nice meaty stew. And I put that between the bread, and it improves the stew and it improves the bread. So it's a win-win. I'm also trying to reduce the sugar in my coffee. So I've got this big cup of coffee, and I allow myself as much sugar as I can pile onto 1 teaspoon, and that's it. And it is amazing how quickly and I can say almost within a day, after you've drunk a dozen cups of tea and coffee with just 1 teaspoon of sugar instead of the normal, say 2, how quickly it becomes almost as enjoyable. So one can cut down one's sugar consumption by half by just putting a limit on how much you allow yourself. Sure, it's a little bit less enjoyable, but just listen to the beautiful bird noises. And just look at my beautiful stealth shelter.